Hey guys, it's Bart from Bart's Custom Bullets. I just want to go over some tips with you about setting the bench up and handling the gun. We're out here in the monkey hut and let's get started. Now guys, this is my setup. It's a Farley front rest with a soft leather Edgewood front bag, and for my stocks with a rake on them, I run a Edgewood soft leather, little bunny ears. But if you take a look at this front bag, mine is a good bit softer than most, and I like it that way. A lot of times when guys get flyers, it's because this is too hard, and getting that during a match, you can reach up, fluff that a little bit, soften it, take your level that back out, and go back to shooting, and hopefully your flyers might disappear on you. But the first thing we want to do once we get everything up on the bench is I want to make sure this base is level, which it appears to be. And then I'll go up to the bags, loosen this guy up, get him in there, and get him nice and square. These levels you can find at most of your precision reloading places. PMA, Sinclair, Brownells, Brunos, all of them should probably have something like that. But once everything's level, we'll put a little bit of lubricant on it. I've tried everything over the years, and I've come back to just straight leather and Johnson's baby powder. And it's the most consistent, works the best of any of the things we've tried. So sometimes the old way is the better way. So we got that on there. Now we need a rifle. So we got the rifle in the bags, and I've got a close-up of the front end of this thing. And it's harder to show you from this angle, but basically with this Scarborough stock, and all my stocks, I request that this front end be squared off. And to make sure that your rifle is square with the front rest, once it's in the bag, I'll pull it back and look over the top of it. And as I'm looking down, I can see the line of the stock and a straight edge from the Farley rest to make sure this guy is perfectly straight. And it is. There it is. Everything's nice and square. So we've got the rifle in the bags, and we've squared the front end to make sure everything's good to go there. In the rear bags, I'll take the rifle and I will beat on the stock to put it down into the ears. And with these stocks that have a rake on them, an angle, I think it's better to use a bag that it does not go all the way to the bottom and right on the stitches. But if you're shooting a long range stock, such as some of them I have, that are level, it's better for those, in my opinion, to be on a bag that it is flat and down in the stitches. And I think that'll work a lot better for you. But there's always a lot of debate. Where should the gun ride? Should it ride on the ears? Should it ride on the stitches? Well, it depends what gun you're shooting. Once this thing's in the rest, one annoying little detail that's ruined many groups and many matches is making sure everything is tight. So check your feet, check and make sure that your lever here is locked down on the post so it's not moving. And I will tension up the front ears. Now when I do this, I put a lot more tension on the gun than most shooters. And I do that for several reasons. One, if you happen to double beside somebody, you probably won't get hurt as much. The gun doesn't come back and hit you quite as hard as far as recoil, but it also aids in tracking. A lot of people will work really hard to get everything so slick that the gun just moves like it's on glass or ball bearings. And in my opinion, that is not what you want. That'll end up showing every little mistake you make gun handling wise. By tightening up these ears, your gun will track better, and also mistakes that you made handling the gun won't show up quite as much. Another thing that I do is I put stock tape on all my rifles, and I kind of hate doing that. It's a little bit like putting a mustache drawing on the Mona Lisa. But the thing that does for me is it keeps the feel and the consistency the same, and how the gun feels in the bags from gun to gun. And I don't know about you, but I have several different guns, and when I go from long range to short range, I want them all to feel the same, and that helps with that. Another thing about gun handling, or setup rather, but once you're set up, one last test that you can do, and this is whether you shoot the gun, if you pin it, or whether you shoot free recoil, but get the gun set up, put pressure on the rear stock. And not so much that it moves your front rest, but if you put pressure on it and you see your crosshair slide off to the left or right, you're not square. So you should be able to get your gun set up, put some pressure on it, and you shouldn't see it go left or right. You know, if it goes down, you might be pushing on it a little bit too hard, but every time your gun goes back and it's set up in the bag, it should go right back to the same spot. You put pressure on it, it shouldn't move left or right. That just tells you if your gun's square or not. Another thing about bag setup, it kind of depends on your body type a little bit, but I'd pretty much recommend it for everybody. If you notice, I have the rear of the stock, and it's just sticking out a little bit over the edge of this back bag. A lot of people, when they're shooting, they find out that they can't get back on target because their rifle has moved so much, and they think it's jumping around in the bags, when normally what's happening is they're pushing on this thing with their chest. So when it goes off, and if the gun is much further up to get on it, they're actually laying on this bag and they're moving it around a little bit. And that's not good. That's a bad thing. So once we're set up and we're ready to go, I want to make sure with this rest that I adjust it to the bottom of the target. And I want to make sure that I adjust it enough so that as the gun shoots, if there's any settling in the bag, it doesn't get out of whack, where I can't go from the sighter to the record or where I need to go. So I got plenty of room on the bottom, and I can make it from my sighter to my record no problem. When you sit down at the bench, or if you're laying on the ground, don't care which, you need to set square to the rifle. And the rifle needs to recoil into your shoulder the same every time. So right now I'm checking my alignment. So on your target or target frame, as you're setting up, one last thing to make sure that you're good to go. If you know your front end is square and you're not tracking straight, you just need to adjust your rear ears just a little bit. So I want to pick a straight edge out there and look through with the scope and move the rifle back and forth, and hopefully I pick something that's square and level, and I want to see that crosshair track up and down as straight as possible. And between that, making sure the gun's nice and square, decent tension on the ears, that's just going to really help with your tracking of the rifle. So these are fired cases. Go through a sequence with you. But I'm there, I see where I'm at, I pull the trigger. When the rifle recoils back, I want to open the bolt, push the gun forward my shoulder, reload, go back to shoot. This is a drill I would do during the winter. Gun set up, I've got 5 cases that have just been sized, no primer, no nothing. and just practice running them through the gun. And I simulate recoil by pulling the rifle back. And practice, open the bolt, push it forward, load the shell. Doing all the things that I need to do while I'm shooting. So, PhD level bench rest stuff. What I do when I'm shooting is I've got 3 jobs on the bench. And once you master this, a lot of other things will become more clear to you in your tuning and your gun handling. But when I'm sitting here doing this drill, I've got my win flags out and I'm setting up just like I'm going to shoot a match. And so I say, okay, I want to start my group now. So when I shoot, click, I need to know 3 things. I need a snapshot in my mind where the condition was at, whether you're watching Mirage or whether you're watching flags. Just as that rifle cracks, once it breaks, I want to know where the crosshairs were at. I want a picture in my mind where the flags were at. I want a picture of where the crosshairs were at. So if I have those 2 things, the third thing I want to do is I want to call my shot. I want to call my shot whether it's in or whether it's out. If you're shooting F-class, well, did I miss the 10 ring? Did I miss the X? Or it should have went out the left side. If you know those 3 things, if you shoot and you see your condition pick up or change, then you call your shot where it should go. Okay, it was conditions. If you shoot and as you pull the trigger, you see your crosshairs move, that's some sort of gun handling error. And you should be able to call your shot. Okay, oh, I pulled it, should be behind right. And if it is, okay, perfect. But if you call your shot and it doesn't go in, and the flags are where they're supposed to be, and the crosshairs are where they're supposed to be, chances are it's because your gun's going out of tune. So that's another lesson that was taught to me by the most famous bench rest shooter in the world, Tony Boyer. And that really opened my eyes to a lot of things once I mastered that. It all comes down to keeping your gun tuned, handling your rifle, and reading conditions. And the guy who does that the best, those 3 things, then they'll win the match. I want to stay square behind the gun. I want to stay down on the gun. I want to try and keep my eyes open. It's loaded. Back, open up the bolt, push it forward, load, and I'm ready to shoot again. If I want to speed that up a little bit, I'll just shoot 3 shots. Loaded. There's my condition. You want to make sure that you do everything the same. You want to stay square behind the gun. You want the gun hitting you in the same spot on the shoulder every time. I try and keep my eyes open. I try not to blink while I'm shooting so I can keep an eye on conditions. You want to do everything the same. And I also think that learning to shoot very quickly and very accurately and holding for conditions sharpens a shooter. It's an extra gear. You don't have to use it, but it's great to have it. If you can handle the gun quickly and shoot it fast, then it's an advantage. There are shooters out there that can get off 5 shots in 7 to 8 seconds. If you're at a 600 or 1,000 yard match, you need to be able to get off all your shots within 20 to 25. And the same thing for short range. But regardless of the match you're at, what discipline it is, always remember conditions dictate the style. if things are real switchy and you need to pick your way through. It's kind of like walking through a landmine or a minefield. But if you can catch the conditions and the conditions are holding, then it helps to be able to run. At any given match, particularly for short range, conditions should hold, if my timing is correct, for me to get off at least 3 shots before I have to hold. So timing, that's another subject. We'll get into it later. But once you consider that it is important to learn how to handle the gun smoothly and be able to shoot quickly and accurately. Well, that's it for now. I hope some of these tips and tricks about how to set up and work the rifle and run the gun help. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Look forward to seeing you at the range.